Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, I want to talk about Ludovic. I want to go through my overall thoughts on him and a roundup. We'll look at what Pridewin have put on their side about his rankings in different places and stuff like that, based on that testing. And I want to go through, first of all, the early game usability out of this guy, because it was something I really want to test. As you can see on this account, I did test him and Taen. I'm going to drop this account because once I realized that the Asia launch is coming, I put like 8 hours a day at least into this account for about a week. But with the Asia launch coming in less than a month, I figure I'll start a fresh one at Asia launch for people that come with the game when that launches. So that's what I'm going to do. But I did get some really good testing out of this account. Like I said, I managed to test him and Taen in the early game. Taen, TLDR on her is, I don't think she's that impactful in the early game that makes her worth pulling a single copy, unless you really like her and you're going to go invest into her. I just don't think the value is there in the early game because you don't have enough healing out of units like Smokey at low ascension to actually keep her topped off so that she can channel her ult. That's a little side tangent. That's basically all I wanted to say on Taen. I don't think she's worth it in the early game at a single copy. But let's go into this bad boy, because this guy, even though he's good, I do think that he is worth getting a single copy of. The problem with Graveborn is the wish list. I think he could replace Carolina, but I do think after playing through this account, and this is a whole nother video I'll get into, Cecilia is still a very viable early game option, because otherwise you can get your account completely bricked, kind of like this one did, where I just got bad RNG, I didn't get the things I needed, and as you can see, I don't really have anything at high ascension, because if I was going for Cecilia, I would have had her to like mythic by now. So it's an interesting topic that I will talk about, but I do think picking up a copy of him early game is not a bad idea. Especially if you're going for Cecilia carry early game, which once again, I'll do a whole nother video talking about the Cecilia Florabelle type thing. And so picking up a copy of him, I think is very useful, especially once again, if you start going into that stage of building like Graveborn core teams with like Cecilia, him, and Thorin, definitely viable. But the Mauler core is just too strong. And overall from my testing, now I was pushing fairly decent deficits on this until the last 2 days where I kind of stopped playing it. And what I found was there was no circumstance in which if I was stuck with using the healers of Smokey, Coco, and Rowan, wherever the hell Rowan is, there he is, he would never make a difference. The problem with him in the early game is that his healing, one, because it ticks every second, it kind of doesn't feel impactful enough in the burst, whereas something like Rowan's potions just feel way more potent. Then you've got units like Smokey, who is just more consistent, because once again, Smokey's does tick as well, but the problem is once his is gone, it's gone. And you can always position Smokey around to avoid CC, so Smokey is just straight better in that position that he feels, and then Coco feels a different position where she is there for that damage mitigation, especially when early game you're normally using Florabelle or Cecilia, who have the summon, who really want to get the Coco buffs. So in general, I don't think he's as impactful in the early game as Smokey, Coco, or Rowan, but he is definitely another option that you can bring in there and cheese around some things. Now, the one thing I will say in the early game is that in Arena, he is fantastic. Now, I haven't played Arena in a couple of days, so I've absolutely tanked it. But in Arena, what's my power at? 107? I mean, we can try this, but we'll probably lose to this. Like I said, in Arena, I do really like him because if you start using some teams kind of like this, which we will lose with, but he does have some pretty strong usability in these types of teams, just due to the fact, and this is what I'd normally been using, you get the 3 Graveborn bonus, and he's got that consistent healing that can continue to tick through to really help you out. So I'm going to put it like this so that he can get the field right there. I don't think we're going to win this one. What are the levels? Oh no, they got some mythics. So we've got levels, they got mythics. Let's just go ahead and see how this goes. But because of that field and the way it works, actually I might even play him back a bit. Let Thorin die once, that's okay. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, I've been using this kind of team. It's more of an offensive pressure team that I've been sticking to, and it's actually been working pretty well. You do get pretty decent sustain, and it's just better than using something like a Smokey, in my opinion, especially in the PvP with him. He just manages to tap things super easy. Yeah, so we should be pretty fine there. Easy tap. But like I said, that was actually a really easy battle. But in general, I think in early game PvP, he is super clutch. And obviously early game climbing PvP is really important as well to get those extra diamonds and stuff like that. So I do think getting one copy of him for that PvP purpose and the tech usage in the early game AFK stage pushing is going to be pretty good. I didn't really find much use of him in the Dream Realm though. So that is what we are looking at. Now I want to jump over to Pridewin and take a look at their general summary and talk about him and his general usage. So if we go over here, I think this was the best conclusion. So they do have a really good write-up over here on Pridewin. They basically just go through all of his skill descriptions, and then they go through a summary of his usage in the different areas. So story/AFK stage, Ludovic is usable along with a second healer and auto-friendly up until a point where usual DPS characters can still kill the enemy before running out of time. This is talking about high deficit pushing. The one thing with AFK stages that I'm realizing is I feel like AFK stage pushing, the time that it really matters is at the start of the game and at the start of the season. Like at the start of the game, start of the season, for the first like week at least, you want to be grinding the shit out of that because it is a massive payoff because it increases those AFK loot, which is just a big snowball. Once you're in the later stages, I don't really see a point to AFK stage pushing unless, like I said, you just enjoy it. Because once we get past stage 1200 as well in the season, you stop getting the summons and the diamonds, and it becomes kind of like, what's the point? Which I do also like that you don't feel forced into having to do it all the time. But yeah, I definitely think in AFK stages, he has viability in standard teams for standard people's pushing, but like not a must have, not on the levels of like Smokey and Coco and stuff like that. Dream Realm, basically, I think Croaker is the only place he's seen a optimal usage in. Besides that, he just doesn't quite have the kit to allow him to contribute. In Croaker, he can deal that massive amounts of damage, but also for the only teams that we really saw using it were teams that also had Freyesto, because basically they just stack a ton of melee so that the field was always in the melee so he could deal the damage. So Dream Realm, I think he's like a good sub-unit. Like if you don't have the best options, he can function in Dream Realm and do all right for you, but he's not like a must-have unit. Like I said, he had that position in Croaker, but hasn't really seen any usage anywhere else. He's not gonna, the problem is he's just competing, he's pretty much competing with Smokey, and Smokey is just too good is essentially the problem. Now PvP, I do think when they say Taen teams, definitely Taen teams is where he shines, but for me on my main account, I have Taen at Supreme. It's still not enough for me to go ahead and get him. Now it is dependent on individual situation, because for me, I finished comfortably top 20 in my server arena, and with him there is no chance it's going to creep me into top 5. So I just don't see the need to go ahead and get him, even though he would be a bit better for my team with Taen. But in general, because it's not going to creep me up a rank, I don't want to invest those summons on mine personally, even though I am that guy who has built the Taen. Supreme Arena, basically he gets more usage because then you got another team that you can build. And in Supreme Arena, I know a lot of people say you need 3 teams. You really only need 2, because you only need the 2 wins, especially on offense. When you look to winning defense, if you want to start winning defense, I definitely think 3 teams, yes. But for winning offense and just getting that position swap, like just before the reset, you really only need 2 teams, because you need your best team to beat their second best team and your second best team to beat their worst team, and then it's GG's. So that's what you're looking at there. Battle drills, yes, battle drills as well. Once again, more bossing capabilities. In general healing as well, in battle drills is going to be nice because you do have to field so many teams. So that is where he's going to have a decent usage as well. They go through his upgrades, and then here's their conclusion. If you invested heavily in Taen, or Graveborn units are important to your game plan and you want a support that matches their faction, Ludovic is a worthy addition to your teams. But if that is not the case and you already invested in other supports who offer more than just healing, he is a safe skip. And that is definitely one of the main issues with this guy, is that he is basically it was what I thought from the start is he doesn't have the support that other healers have. Yes, he does have damage, but the damage is so conditional that it's hard to trigger. And honestly, for me, Smokey's damage is like easier to rely on, because you just get to that third ult and it's pretty much hitting anyone around the joint. So this one is so conditional with where it ends up moving to, because he moves the field so often, and he just lacks that buffing capability outside of his seasonal skill, which is kind of a letdown in my opinion. If his Supreme Plus would have been some sort of good buffing capabilities, would have been even better. But like I said, over here, if you have Taen, yes, he gets some stocks up, but I'm the Taen guy, and I still can't bring myself to go ahead and go deep on this guy. I might get a single copy, but even that, I'll just wait till he goes to the standard wish list and then pick him up, because I've finished my Cecilia, I've finished my Thorin, and I'm like, 2 copies away from Carolina, but I'll get 1 copy through the login event. So I'm just waiting for this guy, essentially. I don't want to use my exclusive summons to get that copy. I'd rather save that for the next hero, hoping that the next hero is actually a god tier hero that we can go pull for and everyone can get excited about. We'll have to wait and see. But just bouncing down here, they go through the pros and cons again, which we pretty much addressed over there. And now they go into the rankings. So the general rankings, AFK stage pre-EX, like I said in the early game, he's good, but he's not like doing anything better than like Rowan, Coco, and Smokey can do in that early game phase. So that's why I don't see him as being more impactful. And normally he's going to be competing with Rowan for that spot in your Mauler core team where you're using Antandra or Brutus, sometimes both, using Smokey, using Coco. And so he's fighting with Rowan most of the time for the position. And Rowan's healing and energy regeneration, he's like smart healing with the potions, and the energy regeneration are just too much to pass up on to put Ludovic into a team as that third support option, in my opinion. But he is still decent. He is still decent. That's why he's not S plus like some of the others. He gets the S ranking. Post EX, he goes down to A. AFK deficit, he goes down to A. Once again, in the early game, it's more easy for healers to get that shine because we are pumping that. Post EX, he doesn't really get a ton out of his EX. That basically the reason he goes down to A, in my opinion, and what I would think is the reason for this positioning, is that if we go over here, his Mythic Plus doesn't really add to him. When we look at what Smokey gets, Smokey just go like you get like new capabilities out of Smokey. This guy just gets a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra healing. It's nothing crazy, and that's why I do think that he has fallen off in those ratings. As we go down, Battle Drill S, yes, he's good there. PvP S, fair ranking. Like I said, he's good in those Taen teams. I don't think he's gonna like make massive waves in just general PvP teams. Besides that, but maybe someone finds something. Like I said, he's better than Smokey in PvP in general situations, but most people ain't using Smokey anyway because you're looking at Damien and Hewan as your main healing options over there. Then we go to the Dream Realm. Overall S. Skyclops is S. I still haven't seen him pop up in any Skyclops teams that I've seen. Croaker, obviously, we saw some teams getting used. Lone Gaze, because you do need high healing output, but he's not going to be in your best in-slot teams. And then Stomper, Necro, and Alpha Bear, he just doesn't really have a spot. So that is the roundup of the Ludovic. Like I said, pretty cool character in general, but I think they just missed the mark with what his kit did compared to all of the power that we already have in the game with all these other supports, especially being Coco and Smokey, and then we have Hewan, and then we have Damien for later game because they need higher investment. But early game, you got Smokey, Coco, and Rowan, which he struggles to compete with. And then late game, you got Damien and Hewan. And yes, in some situations with Taen, he does work better than those. But in general, I just don't think he quite has the same effect as some of these heroes that we already had in the game. And that is his problem, essentially, is that the supports in the game are so strong at the moment, which makes it harder for him to shine brightly. But once again, 1 copy of him for the tower if you want to try and push the tower a bit harder. It's definitely not a bad thing because I do once again see people with pretty beefed up accounts using a single copy of him in the tower because he's more beneficial than what else they have in the Greatborn faction. But once again, I personally am just going to wait till he goes to the normal wishlist, chuck him on one of my wishlist spots, and then go ahead and pick one up then. But that is going to be it for Ludovic and this video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know any other testing you guys have done if you find out anything else cool, and I can update this stuff. But in general, good unit, just not cracked OP because we've already got such amazing supports. Anyway, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.